everyone. This is my first live, and I'm super excited to be here with Vicki Johnson. She's a founder of ProFellow, and what is super unique about her is not only that she's working 24 hours and making six figures, this is, by the way, her first business, is that she started off thinking, how can I actually run a business and just do a certain amount of hours, and then just defining what success is to her. And I think it's a topic a lot of people don't talk about. And the topic usually goes like, oh, you got to work really hard. You got to make this much money. And like, you don't see your family and friends, or you don't have the freedom that you started with. And there's always kind of like that internet buzz, like work and barely do anything, which that's not true either. You got to be very creative. So Vicki, welcome. And thank you for being here and sharing your story. I'm so glad to have you, especially a female founder. Woo, woo. So
yes.
Tell me about ProFellow, and when did you finally decide to start it?
Yes. Well, can I just mention too, I met you through the Owners Up platform years ago.
Yes.
Because I was actually kind of a struggling entrepreneur at the time. I was trying to figure out, actually, I wasn't near my lifestyle goals, but I had started a business 10 years ago called ProFellow. And it's basically a media platform for information on professional and academic fellowships, which are these funding awards for individuals. And when we started the business, my husband and I started the business 10 years ago as a website. We didn't really have a clear business model. It was just the topic that I was interested in because I did several fellowships myself that took me all over the world. So we actually started it when I was on a fellowship in New Zealand. People always ask me, how do you find these funding awards, to do research, to do professional development? And I was like, well, I just do deep internet research. So it was Ryan's idea to start a website around this as a business, but it took a long time to figure out how it would make money. But I will say what I do now, the business, ProFellow, we have kind of two main revenue streams. We sell advertising to fellowship organizations, which are philanthropic organizations, universities, others, because they're trying to reach fellowship seekers. So we help them do that. Then I also, in the last 2 years, started a course, a high-end online course for graduate school applicants who are seeking full funding. So in that way, I'm able to do a sort of group coaching model as another form. And at some point, this program has been so successful, it will overtake the advertising revenue. So that was a really big, it was an experiment that worked and turned out very well.
Excellent. And so you started off thinking about what is that lifestyle? Can you tell me, like, why did you decide to go that route? And what is the formula?
Yes, I'm going to try to be succinct because it's hard. It's a kind of a long story. So back 10 years ago, I was actually working in public policy in Washington, D.C. I had a policy job. I was working on a congressional commission. And my boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband, Ryan, he was kind of in a corporate job. And I won this fellowship to go to New Zealand for 7 months. He actually quit his job to come with me. And we're kind of on this adventure in New Zealand. And so I'm on this 7-month fellowship. And through that, I also then afterwards entered a PhD program in New Zealand. But early on in our relationship, so we weren't even engaged when we went abroad together, but we had a conversation. We were very close and we sort of knew that this was it. And we sat down and somehow, I don't even know what prompted this, but we had a discussion about what type of lifestyle would we want. So it wasn't about how much money do we want to make or what do we want to do? It was more like, what do we want our lives to look like in 5-10 years? And we literally have a Google Doc, I still have it, that it describes a few things. So number one, to both of us, travel was really important. So we knew we wanted to travel and have not just the money to travel, but also the time, because we all know that corporate jobs, any kind of job really often doesn't give us time. The second thing was we knew we wanted to have children at some point. So we thought, travel, children, they're going to be in school. So that means in the summers, we want to spend every summer traveling to Europe, to US, everywhere. Some other things we just talked about was being financially secure so that we had really cushy, amount of money, lots of disposable income, and basically pursuing our interests. So we both would be pursuing our interests simultaneously. Now, it was extremely aspirational, this thing that we built, to be honest. I didn't even know how we would even remotely begin to meet that goal. this lifestyle goal, but we knew it would probably be around having a business that we own, because we didn't see how we could have corporate jobs and be able to spend summers in Italy with our kids, right? So then, we started ProFellow with that idea in mind, that really ProFellow would be, for our family, would be about having enough income and flexibility to have that lifestyle of traveling with our kids. So actually, when we first started the business, we were very much involved in like startup competitions and things. And really the only kind of business model we thought of was the venture-backed business model of like, someone's going to invest, we'll create a big tech platform or product, and maybe that would result in, some sort of big payout. But quickly I realized that having an investor on board means that you have another form of a boss. And most people who work and found venture-backed companies have pretty poor lifestyles. They're working all the time. Even if they're the CEO, the founder, they have to speak to an investor body, to a board. There's a ton of pressure. And this became even more clear. This is in New Zealand when we started this, but when we moved to the Bay Area afterwards, we moved to San Francisco. Ryan did get a job in the corporate world in tech companies, and he was working constantly. He worked at Elance before it became Upwork. So we got a good taste of what it means to work for a venture-backed company, and I quickly realized, oh no, this is going to be a lifestyle business. And so everything from that point forward was deliberately about how do we make this a successful lifestyle business so that it stays small and lean but highly profitable. So that's kind of where it started. But I didn't know.
And why do you think lifestyle businesses have such a bad rep? Right? You don't see it promoted. Recently, it's getting promoted more and more. I think maybe during COVID, people started appreciating like their time, their freedom.
I think it's funny, when we lived in the Bay Area, certainly a lifestyle business, I think, had this connotation of, someone working on an Etsy shop or something. Like there wasn't an idea that you could make even significant money or millions of dollars from a lifestyle business. However, I did uncover many communities of people that have very successful online businesses, lifestyle businesses that are making million or if not multi-millions of dollars with very small teams. And a lot of them are course creators, coaches. There's a lot of, and even retail type shops that are just very lean and very efficient. So there is a whole world. So within the lifestyle business community, it's certainly like we've hit the jackpot in terms of finding a business model that works for the life that we want. But it's almost like everyone in the venture world thinks it's like this, oh, that's cute, that thing you're working on. But they don't realize that there's a whole different lifestyle for people who have their own lifestyle businesses versus working for a venture-backed company. So there's a big difference.
I have to say, you're one of the few people that I know that are actually living the 25 hours a week. So there's a lot of course creators and people I know who are making millions, right? But their lifestyle, so they make it look like on Instagram, they're barely working, but behind the scenes, they are non-stop working. And then later on, they admit what's going on. But with you, it's like, I even have like an email or a call. You're just like, this is my schedule. This is when I'm available. This is when I'm with my kids. And by the way, people, she has 2 kids, and it was super important for her to be with them on certain days. And then just tell me how like that really, because like you really were like, this is 25 hours. I'm just going to have to make it work.
Yes. So just a little backstory, because if people don't know, so we lived in San Francisco for 8 years from the time we moved from New Zealand. And I was working full-time on ProFellow from about 2016. So actually in the beginning, I had a job, a full-time job, and Ryan was working, and ProFellow was like a side thing. And then I hated my corporate job because I had my first son then, and it was just very hard, the daycare, this, that, coming and just having to ask for time off. And so I resigned from that job to work on ProFellow full-time, even though it wasn't making that much money, really very little money. But we felt confident that if I could work on it full-time, it would grow. But the key was to find a scalable business model. So if you are a course creator, you're a coach, a lot of people are doing very much like one-on-one things or custom work or very time-intensive business models. So what you have to do is find a business model that is not time intensive, and you have to be very deliberate about how you build that, because anytime you have a business, you'll have people coming to you with a million ideas. Build this, build that. Here's an idea, here's that idea. But for me, I always thought about what is going to be the most revenue for the least amount of work. And this includes if you have to pay freelancers or staff to help you do that, that's a cost. So is it going to cost a lot of money to hire somebody to help you execute that? So for me, I always had the lifestyle goal to help me determine how I would run the business and what services I would offer, what products I would offer. All of my products are digital. I don't do anything that's, really time intensive. And for things, even for advertising, we charge really high prices for them because, we don't want to be scrounging for small amounts of money. So, and then for things that are lower price in our advertising package, even those are things that are very easy for us to execute because I still have a staff person that does that. I'm not the one doing all the administrative stuff around that anymore. I actually have the revenue to hire someone to do that for me. So that's the only way. So it's been step by step. It's been slow. But now I have a scalable product through my course, but I've been very deliberate not to offer really individual advising, one-on-one stuff, because that is a distraction. I've had people say, oh, you should expand to other countries. You should do this. No. You have to just draw the line. It's a very hard thing to do when you're starting out because you think you want to take any money coming from anywhere when you're not making much money, but then you quickly realize you're not actually being compensated for what you're putting into what you're giving people. So you got to find things that are scalable. And that's really the key. Now there are multi-million-dollar course creators who are working all the time. That's probably by choice because they haven't been able to extricate themselves from their businesses. But that's their choice. They probably could do it if they wanted to. So it just depends. Just depends. I think kids change everything though. Some people, if you don't have kids, you have maybe a little more time for that. Kids will change a lot of things.
Yeah, I remember once I had Luke, we were on a call. I think he was 6 months at that time. And I was like, yeah, I could do the call as I'm breastfeeding. And I was very comfortable with telling you that because you're a mom. And then you asked me, you're like, so I know you've had so many successful businesses, but have you put a plan together with you and your husband? Have you had this conversation? I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, what does it look like? And I was like, you know what? It's right. Like we never really we do like these where we travel, but not really think about the whole lifestyle. Like, how do we want this to be? Yeah. So, and then you told me like certain questions to start asking him and then to check in that plan. And I loved it. So can you tell a little bit more about that?
Yes. So like I said, we put it into this Google Doc literally 10 years ago without any real idea.
How many years ago before you even started?
This is when we were dating in New Zealand. That was when we wrote down that we want to have kids. We want to travel every summer with the kids. And we want to make, let's say $500,000 in income. So the income part, maybe we thought wasn't too crazy because in DC, we both had corporate government jobs. We were making each making about 120 at that time, 10 years ago. So together that would be 240. So it's like, okay, well maybe 500 as a total household income from jobs isn't that crazy. And you can make that kind of money in places like San Francisco and as you move up in your career. But the problem is it's like the higher you go in these corporate positions, the more money you make, you're going to be working a lot. This idea that if once you're a director, a founder, a CEO or something that you're going to suddenly have less work because you're higher up. No, that doesn't work that way. Ryan had to travel a lot for his job in some cases. So like the more money he made, the more equity he was offered. It was like more responsibility, more people to manage. And so it was just an endless, grind. The business, however, now in the beginning, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I was working a lot. When I met you, I didn't have any staff. I had a couple of part-time freelancers helping me.
Wait, you weren't even freelancing yet. You didn't trust people yet. I remember that. You were learning to delegate.
I was doing everything myself, everything from responding to emails, setting up advertising, sending invoices, writing articles, managing the website. I mean, it was everything. And then I was pregnant with my son, my first child. And I got onto the platform because I realized I need to hire like at least a 20-hour per week VA, virtual assistant that would help me do this so I can actually take a leave. So that did happen. And actually that was like a first real hire. Other people were just little small things. I didn't feel like I could afford to hire people. Now I've grown the business where I have I have a full-time staff person now. She lives and works remotely, and I have other freelancers who do their discrete work. And so I've got a very lean team of people that help execute the business, but it's more profitable than it's ever been. And it's because I've been really deliberate about keeping things small and not trying to make this the next Facebook. It will never be that, nor do I want it to be that. So that's sort of how I think everyone, if you do want to have a lifestyle business, you do have to stay focused on creating scalable products, like won't cost you much money to create or execute, but could charge high prices for.
So do you have a decision tree or framework? So someone comes up with like, hey, you should be doing this marketing. And you're just like, well, it doesn't work. Or like, how do you schedule your time? Like, do you start blocking the time? Like, tell me how you organize yourself. Do you have a top 3? Do you put your goals? Is it annual goals?
Yes, I'll be honest. I only hired my first full-time employee this year. And so up until this year, it was really, I still was working quite a bit. But the hire was the thing that made the new schedule possible, the working 20 hours a week or so. So, and I really, this was important to me because my kids are 6 and 3, and they're currently home for the summer. And they've been home this whole past year with the pandemic. We've been homeschooling them or keeping them. My son would have been in kindergarten. So, it was really important to us to have more time as a family. The other thing we did, and I didn't mention this earlier, we moved from San Francisco to Bend, Oregon. So it was very expensive to live in the Bay Area. I mean, the childcare alone when we were working was more than our rent, which was very high as well. So we were just paying just crazy amounts of money for rent, childcare, and then even food, car, everything else. So it always was part of our goal as well to move to a place where we could buy a home and have like a more vacation-like, lifestyle. And the pandemic, to be honest, I think we would have put that off even a little bit further if it wasn't for the pandemic. So once we were all home in our small San Francisco apartment, we were like, time to execute the plan. And it was a little scary to leave. And Ryan quit his job. He's been working, he's been actually home with the kids while I've been doing my bit of work with ProFellow. They will be in school now full time, at least both of them will be in some sort of care or school in September. So that will give him and I more time for ourselves. And we can't wait. We're going to go paddleboarding, hiking. We're going to do a lot more things.
So this is awesome. So you're still going to stick to the 25 hours, but just do activities.
Absolutely. I know.
Wait, and working full time? Is Ryan working full time now or no?
No, he's not working at all. He was advising a startup company during this period, but he's mostly been home with the kids. And watching 2 children, age 6 and 3, is not compatible with a job of any sort. So really, it was something he did in an advisory role. He was doing that for maybe 10 to 15 hours a week, but it was flexible, so he could do that when it was possible. But even that he ended, he's like, I just want to really just be with the kids, spend time with them, have really good quality time. So that was another decision to just focus on that. So yeah, I mean, it's really about time. I don't think there's anything more valuable than your time, especially if you're a parent. You probably know too, when your kids are certain ages, it's really a struggle to go to work and leave your kids and not see them except for early in the morning and late at night. So that was a deliberate choice to do that. I mean, I'm wondering, you have kids now, so how are you? Did you have the discussion with your husband about?
Well, I am working less hours. I decided to make decisions based on what is that lifestyle, because I wanted to spend time in the morning and then like not pick up my son's in daycare right now, and to pick him up earlier, not just leave him in daycare. Yes. And then really just enjoy our time. And Daniel and I don't do like nighttime dates. We do daytime dates.
Oh, see, that's what I want to do. I'm too tired tonight.
Yeah, so we do.
That's exactly it. Because then to have time during the day is just like another huge benefit. So yeah, I know it's funny. I have people tell me too, like, "Oh, you're an entrepreneur. You probably can never take off work." And I was like, "No, I do. I do take off work. But the beauty is too, even if I had to do a couple emails for an hour a day, I can do that from anywhere. So most of my work, again, I try to keep it so that I have very few meetings, only doing critical work that can only be done really for my level. And then the rest is outsourced or delegated to staff. So again, yeah, it's like, I can't, to be honest, I'm excited. The summer has been really fun, but I'm very excited about September when Ryan and I will finally have full
daytime
day dates. I love it.
And then I have a question. During the, like, for type A's, I gotta tell you that it was really hard for me to work less hours. I always felt like I could do more.
Yeah.
And like with you who've gotten their PhD, you're total type A. So how did you kind of quiet that noise or that voice? And then like you probably looked at others and you're like, maybe I should be working more. I don't know. I could be doing more.
Oh, you always, as an entrepreneur, there's always stuff you could be doing, right? And sometimes I think, oh man, couldn't the revenue be growing faster if I was doing this or doing that? I guess I realized that moving to Oregon though really made me realize that, wait a second, the dream that we put on paper 10 years ago has come to fruition. So now we better not squander it by now working the whole time. I mean, Ryan's even had job offers and things since we've been here. And we've had the decision, like, let's not do that, because even though it could be more income, all your time will be taken away. And that's the whole point of this whole escapade of life, right? Is to see how we can do this a little bit differently. So, yeah, I mean, I think the way our life is set up now is odd to people. It's like, what? How are you doing this? Oh, that little online business that you're working on. But, you know, honestly, it's almost better that way, really. You know, we are in the middle of Central Oregon. We are in the middle of nowhere, but it is an awesome town. I mean, people come here for vacation. There's skiing, there's hiking, and there's even good schools. So we found like a really good place to raise the kids. This will be our jumping off point for whatever adventures we're going to go on. And yeah, again, every decision we make about work, income, and everything really comes down to, what do we want to do? I think that is hitting the jackpot right there, even if we're not the richest people in the world, but who cares?
Yeah, you can always go to another country because your business is virtual.
Right, exactly. I mean, we're still going to do that summer in Italy. That is on my list of to-dos. This darn pandemic would not, you know, that's really been an odd thing. But, you know, actually, we also realized, too, the U.S. has so many amazing and spectacular things to see. I mean, we haven't really done even enough travel within the US. So there's like a new yearning now to really see more of the US too.
And do you check in on that 10-year plan that you did? Do you say, oh, let's check in every quarter, where we at? Or is it only when kind of like opportunities come about that you start looking at that?
You know, it's weird. I don't know that we don't have like a specific check-in, but at least once a year, we kind of sit down over a glass of wine and talk about the goals. What are we trying to achieve? We've really tried to save as much money as possible over the last 10 years. So we lived in a rent-controlled apartment so that we could sock away a lot of money, because you never know what can happen. Business, kids, health. So I think we were always focused on that. But, you know, I think, you know, Ryan and I just talked about recently, it's time to actually draft now a new 10-year plan for the next 10 years. So the kids we're going to raise them in Oregon. We found a home that we love. We found a location that we love. So now it's kind of like, okay, what's the next level for the business, for our life? What do we want to do now? And I think actually being better parents, I think that's now really much around our lifestyle goals. How can we give our kids as much experiences as possible when they're young, so that they have a better sense of different career paths than maybe we had when we were kids, and really have more of a chance to explore the outdoors. So that's really what we want to do next. So I think it's going to be more around the kids now and giving them experiences and having experiences as a family. What does that look like?
Yeah, I think that kids definitely change you. Like, it's like, oh, well, I could spend time with my child, or I could spend time doing this. Like, what's going to be the return on investment? Like someone said, I love this. They said that you only have 18 summers with your kid and they're not all equal. And that's just,
I didn't think about that. That's true. Right?
So I was just like,
you're right.
True. And then that just every kind of decision, that's how I go back to like, cause I have a big type A kind of like mindset where I'm like, I could be doing this, and then I'm just like, no, I have 18 summers I've already done so
no,
much.
you're totally right. I mean, when I was younger, I was very ambitious. I wanted to be a director of this, a thing of that, a head of this, in government and nonprofits. But then as I got older and I had kids and I traveled, with Ryan, I was like, wait a second, there's more to life than these jobs. And no one's going to remember me for these jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, unless I really do something extraordinary within the job, which maybe is possible, but I think it's almost more extraordinary to have an adventure with our kids, with our life. So that's sort of where we are. And so I really have lost the ambition to want to achieve what I think is an American perception of success. Oh, I'm going to make this salary. I'm going to have this title. That comes with a lot of sacrifice, those things. So yeah.
Yeah, it does take
Nothing
time.
wrong with it.
Kind of like an adjustment. Yeah, there's nothing wrong, but it is an adjustment. And then last question, how did you finally get over delegating? Like, I remember you were just like,
yes.
oh, it was that whole, every entrepreneur goes through. I have so many members going through it now where it's that perfectionism, that holding on, the control.
I will say delegation was something, it was very hard for me to do, not just because I felt like it's really hard to train somebody to do X, Y, or Z, but also like, I just don't like to ask people to do stuff for me. It feels in a way odd. I don't know. I'm more of like a team player. I like to be on a team versus being in a hierarchy. So these were all mindset issues though. So I think I'm really excited. My full-time staff person actually has a pretty awesome job for, I don't know, they don't call it millennials anymore. It's whatever the next one down is. She's in her 20s. It's fully remote. She can travel and do the job. It's flexible. She gets to work directly with me. So there's a lot of benefits. And I was like thinking to myself, when I was in my 20s, I would have loved that job. So, I have to remember that it's not, it's okay that I'm not doing that work anymore, that I can delegate it. And it's a great opportunity for someone else who's learning, growing, and who knows, may start their own business someday. So yeah. So I just have to remind myself of that.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time. So much wisdom and just
thank you.
A reminder of like living life now.
I have to say the Owners Up platform was awesome. When I used it to make my first hire, that was a big goal. So I just want to put in a plug for that to anyone watching. It's a great accountability platform. And it was very helpful as kind of I was an early stage entrepreneur. So check it out. She did not ask me to say that. I'm saying that fully.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And if anybody wants to reach her, it's Vicki Johnson at ProFellow.
Yes. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.